Hey, Patrick. We're on.
Let's look at play. I allegiance to the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
Sorry about that table. Jonathan didn't take it away.
IT function.
Approval of minutes.
Announcements.
I see it. I didn't jump on it right off the bat. Do we have any announcements?
Yes. I have three actually,
Wow,
so
okay.
bear with me. First one was flagged for me by Denise Cosgrove, our tax assessor. These handouts are in the back of the room if you're interested. It's about Rhode Island's Farm, Forest and Open Space Program. So there's handouts if anybody wants them. There's going to be an information session about how to qualify and what it entails. So if you're interested, grab one of those. Second announcement is that we have on the town website on the home page, you can click on a button there that will give you a form to put in your email address. And so as soon as we have our townwide newsletter going, you will get it. And that will have all news, any news that's fit to print that's coming out of the town, you will get automatically. You'd be able to opt out. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. So yeah, you can go to the homepage and click on it and put in your email address. There's also an iPad in the clerk's office there that you can, if you stop by town hall, you can plug in your email address there. And then if you ever get sick of getting the emails, you can opt out. But it's a way that hopefully we can share more information and be more transparent and do a better job communicating. So that's exciting. And my last piece is also exciting news, which is that yesterday we had sort of a surprise visit from the state elevator inspector. We'd been trying to reach him for many weeks, and he called out of the blue and said, I'm in Tiverton, I can be there in 10 minutes. And so Patrick was painting in Middletown and I was working in Adamsville. And so I met him over here and he gave the elevator at the Oddfellows building his blessing. So we now have state and local approval on the elevator at the Oddfellows building. So we not only don't have to have a big expensive project for that, but we're one step closer to compliance and getting to be able to use the second floor again. So we're working on it and that's an important step. That's all I got.
Thank you for being available. And the town thanks you. Your elevator duty. Approval of minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes as written, unless anyone has any changes.
Do I have a second?
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Going to abstain.
And one abstention. Thank you, Garrett. Old business one, vote to appoint vacancy on Little Compton Agricultural Conservancy Trust to fill unexpired term ending July 1st, 2026.
I'd like to move Taylor Johnston.
I'd like to second that.
Discussion.
Two great candidates for the position. Yeah.
I would agree.
We rarely find that we have such a thing. I believe that the right person at this moment in time is Paul Golombeski. I have no issue with the motion or the second. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Hey,
That's 4-1. Passes. Thank you. If there's no objection, I would like to move up new business 6. Any objection? Not seeing any. Anyone following along? New business 6 is the presentation of the budget by the town administrator and finance director. And it says FY 27 budget review by finance director and town administrator. These are in the back of the room, if you'd like to follow along on paper. I will give a minute and no longer for someone to grab those.
There's not a.
There's a sum, not a ton, from what I understand.
Here.
Have to share here, it's a little confident.
Ready?
Ready?
Okay. Sal asked me to bring the mic closer and speak louder.
Wow.
Try to do that. So I expect some cheers and maybe the wave at some point. So I am happy to present to you the town
I need to move.
what is by town charter considered the town administrator's recommendation and for the fiscal 27 budget. In reality, it is largely, has been this year largely the work of my colleague here, John McNamee, who I cannot thank enough for how much he has worked to understand, reconcile and make clean our finances and advise me as I or is pointing at something.
I'm asking Jonathan to put it on that screen too, just so other people can see it. Sorry to.
To give you a recommendation tonight that will undergo scrutiny by you all and then ultimately go to the budget committee, although ultimately means by March 1st. So we don't have a ton of time. In addition to John, who's been absolutely, I couldn't have done this process without him. And he, as I said, has done most of the work. I want to thank all of the department heads within town government who have been diligent about providing numbers to us, requests for budget items, meeting with us individually and working through their requests. And I can say nobody got everything that they wanted, which is kind of what I consider to be in a sick way, a good budget. Nobody is totally happy. Also want to thank Martha, who I think is in the back of the room, who has been a great, Martha has been a great support to us in terms of pulling together all the necessary information and will continue. The committee works through this process. So budgeting is never fun. It's particularly not fun when you have to come face to face with the fact that you've been overspending. Everybody knows this from their own household budget. In fiscal 24 and 25, town expenses exceeded revenues, and we used reserve funds to fill that gap. And we are now coming to grips in fiscal 26 and 27 with kind of the reality of that situation, which is you saw a one-time increase in property taxes last year, had to go to the legislature to get authorized for that. You also significantly scaled back capital investments last year. And what we're trying to do in fiscal 27 with what we're recommending, sorry, I do that. I did.
Oh, you're doing.
What we're trying to do in fiscal 27 is make revenues and expenses balance within the state limit of a 4% increase in property taxes. We have other revenues. You'll see those in this presentation. Other revenues that bring us a little bit above that 4% in terms of an allowable revenue side of the budget. But we need to stay, in our minds, that has been mine and John's goal, to stay within our available resources. And our goal is to rebuild reserve funds over time, make strategic investments in personnel. We'll talk a little bit about that, and make strategic investments in capital. And also continue to seek efficiencies. So we'll talk about a couple of fronts on which we're doing that tonight, most notably in terms of sharing services with the schools. And we had with some important investments in IT infrastructure, which are expensive, but have been put off for too long. So that's our goal, and hopefully we brought you something that's good, a good basis for you to discuss actual expenditures. So revenues and expenditures in what we're proposing to you balance at just under $19 million. Total revenues increase at 5.5% over the fiscal year 26 budget. So again, 4% increase in property taxes, and then there's a handful of other revenue sources that John can talk about that bring that up to 5.5%. We're proposing that we increase operating expenses by 3.86% over the fiscal 26 budget. If you add into that what we're recommending around capital investments, it brings it up to match the revenue increase at 5.5%. Some of the major upward pressures that we have seen as we've built this budget, not surprisingly, most of it is on the personnel side. That is what makes the bulk of the budget in most organizations, and we're no exception. So we've got salaries, we've got fringe benefits, we got pension expenses. All of those are fairly significant upward pressures. Salaries, not because we're recommending giant increases, but because it's just such a budget. So we are recommending that for all those not covered by a collective bargaining agreement, increase the salary at 3%. Collective bargaining agreements, we just have to adhere to, and those range from 3 to 5%. Some are at 3, some are at 4, some are at 5. For health insurance, we've plugged in an assumption that premiums will increase at 10% this year. That's based on a recommendation for the interlocal trust, but we won't actually know those numbers until.
Probably late March.
So, yeah, so that's an assumption right now. It might sound like a large increase, but I think given what's happening in the market, it's probably totally realistic to expect that that's going to be our increase. Pension expenses, John will get into what we've assumed there, but that's something, it's a fairly significant item that we have to build in, as is debt service. So these are things that we don't have a whole lot of discretion around. We just have to pay those bills. We did make some recommendations about reductions from departmental budget requests. So we got a request from every department head and looked at those and looked at ways in which we could reduce those requests without doing undue harm. And, you know, none of it's easy, but we tried to kind of spread the pain and not do such deep cuts that it would have a multi-year impact. But hopefully these are either cuts or delays in expenditures that we can weather through this year with and come out the other side to consider some expansion in departments. So first of all, I want to make clear that we've recommended reducing the police department request and the town clerk request by one position. Those are not elimination of positions. That's delaying the hiring into vacancies in those positions for the police department and the town clerk. For DPW, we've also recommended that we reduce the request by one position. That was a request for a new position. So there's a little bit of a distinction there. We're also recommending that we lease rather than buy some new equipment and vehicles lease rather than purchasing. And again, John can go into that in detail if you want to ask questions. Other recommendations are that we continue to, that we consolidate IT expenses such as service contracts that cut across all departments within an IT budget under Jonathan Gabriel. For better management of those contracts. And we think that there can be some real savings and just better service to be had and elimination of duplication by doing that. I alluded to making some investments in IT infrastructure and security. You'll see in the budget that there are some rather sizable for the size of our budget investments. Jonathan's not getting everything he dreamed of. So we tried to go through and make a distinction between what was nice to have and what was really necessary to sort of catch up and minimize risk for the town. And so hopefully that's what you. We are proposing that we combine the human resources function across the school and the town. The town at this point doesn't really have a well-staffed human resources function, and that's a weakness for us. And so we're proposing that we piggyback with the school on what is a much more professional approach to human resources. Again, John can talk about that. We're proposing that we fund a townwide salary study. I presented you at your last meeting with a copy of the statewide salary survey that shows that Little Compton is way down on the salary scale. And so we think that we should take a look at that sort of Little Compton specific and see how we match up and what we should aim for in terms of making sure we're competitive in the market over time. We also recommend that we look at all fees, whether that be transfer station stickers, building permits, or anything else that we collect, for which we collect money, and make sure that we are sort of in line with our peers, or at least not way below what other towns are charging. We're also looking at ways of collecting those fees more efficiently through electronic means, and that with the beach and the transfer station principally. Don't know how much of that is going to kick in this fiscal year, but that is something that Jonathan's got underway. And then the last thing for consideration is outsourcing nighttime police and dispatch and fire dispatch to Tiverton. Something we looked at, but there were a couple of speed bumps in our way. Still think it's worth looking at in the long term, but wasn't ready for prime time for this presentation. And I think that's the presentation. Unless if you want to go to questions, I would welcome those. Otherwise, John's going to go through the memo and packet that he gave you, which provides a whole lot more detail.
Any questions from the council to the town administrator?
I do have something I'd like to say.
Go ahead, Heather.
I have a note here that I'd like to read in regards to the proposed budget as the town clerk. I am addressing the council of this proposed fiscal year 27 budget. While I do understand the process and need for the budget, the difficult decisions that need to be made sometimes, well, as I stated many times approximately 6 years ago, when I saw the financial path that was being taken, stating in about 5 to 7 years, this is not going to be good. And at that point, we'll be seeing the true reflection of this path. That fell on deaf ears many times, and here we are. So my statement tonight as the town clerk and the resident of the town is my concerns for those individuals who are served by the town departments for various reasons in multiple town services. Based on the proposed cuts, the two that I believe would be a direct negative impact to the town, the residents, and anyone that comes to visit Little Compton and has a need for town services. First, the reduction in the police department request by 2 positions for new staff. Chief Raines, who's not here tonight, he could speak further on his reasonings for this request. But I state this being that the clerk's office is the main point of contact for the town. Based on regular calls throughout any year, I can assure you that both departments at the public safety complex, police and fire, provide much more to anyone in town than emergency services, and anyone would believe their responsibilities to be. Just one example of these calls received by the clerk's office of an elderly resident or someone in distress, and the police department dispatching for wellness checks on those residents and those that may be housebound, or ensure their safety of well-being for any type of daily life necessities. This too is a very important part of the safety of our town. Little Compton has a larger than some communities population of elders, and they are our history and what has made our community in Little Compton what it is. Responding to these needs does draw away from the responsibilities they may have in the police department or public safety complex fire department. but they always respond immediately when the town clerk's office calls upon them for such needs. Secondly, mentioning the clerk's office is the main point of contact for the town, which serves as much more than most would believe town business to be. For their elder population and others who may live alone or have no family in the area, we're the only voice that they hear sometimes in the clerk's office for days, even weeks. Besides all the state and local level mandated responsibilities that deserve to be recognized, to the extreme volume in which that entails each day in the clerk's office, to lose such a connection to the town, to not be able to answer the phone, to be the only voice that would be heard in a week is disheartening. To think that a reduction in staff in the town clerk's office at any point in time may cause to not be able to pick up that call or be able to know that the office is staffed well enough to do an at-home visit for an notarization when needed for housebound or anyone. This is just a small example of what exactly the clerk's office does in any given day, week, or year. Besides the increased volume of workload during an election year, reduction of staff in the clerk's office could cause deadlines to be missed and the workload to pile and excessive taxing work hours on the staff. Both of these reductions would greatly impact the services provided by the town, as well as cause a loss of the true meaning of the town to be here in Little Compton as a town clerk and a resident. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the town administrator by the council for what was just presented? Anyone, I see a hand in the front.
I appreciate what John put together in our attempt to get our, in a good fiscal path. I saw you were talking about leasing, equipment and cars. I just had a suggestion that we go to lease purchase when we do that. So that we're not wasting the money in case we decide to keep whatever we're leasing.
Yeah, they're structured as a lease purchase, basically. Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
no, thank you.
Thanks, Seth.
Do I see a hand in the back? Come on up.
The question is, do you have the actual budget numbers for the council to be looking at tonight, or is it only what you've got on this presentation?
No, if John goes into his presentation.
They have a draft
Uh-huh.
of the
And
budget.
is
Yep.
that available for anyone who happens to be sitting here to be able to look at?
Well, it's in draft, so it's kind of a working draft, so I think it's going to be, it certainly would be available,
So
after the meeting, I
it's
assume.
draft, and the council needs to vote to submit this to the town clerk for inclusion on the warrant before March 1st. That means you're gonna have to hold a special meeting.
That's gonna be Tuesday at 2, but that's down in that's a little surprise for later.
You're open for all to hear what's going on, but yet this is going to be something that happens Thursday night and then Tuesday morning. And how many, or Tuesday afternoon, how many people are going to be able to be here at 2 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon to
Well,
discuss over those numbers?
yeah, I appreciate that. Today we're receiving the proposed budget draft from the town administrator and finance director. Obviously, we're not gonna vote on it. So we're gonna need time to digest that. I'm suggesting a little scribby note that maybe Tuesday's a good day. That might not be a good day. So there will be a day before March 1st that we have a meeting and vote on this budget.
My point being is, it doesn't give the public much input on what those numbers are. If you're going to have to call a special meeting, and will only be the second time that you're looking at these numbers. I know I've just retired, and some may say I had my chance to say something before I left. But to think that you have gotten to tonight, which is what, February 18th, 19th? 19th, okay. See, I'm retired, I don't remember the date. And this is the first time that the council is actually seeing a proposal draft budget. I'm so disappointed. And I'm here to support Heather and that office because there are a lot of people that recognize the importance of that office and having it fully staffed. I can speak to the days when it was just 2 people in that office. And I can tell you what happens is, there's a lot of overtime by the clerk, and as budget allows, by the deputy. So you're not necessarily going to save money in that sense. And without knowing what you proposed in the rest of the budget, I can't speak to whether or not you've cut somewhere or increased somewhere where I might have a comment on it. I will gladly comment at some point in time, and given that I'm retired, when you have that next meeting to vote on it, I'll be here.
Thank you, Carol Wardell. Any other comments on the town administrator's presentation? All right, I will go to the finance director.
Well, just one comment on the budget. This presentation of the budget then goes to the budget committee. At that point, there's a vetting of that budget, series of public meetings where that budget then is open to the public to comment on to the budget committee. Their recommendation, which is my understanding, that they make to the at the financial town meeting for the approval of the budget. It's just kind of the first step. So what we're submitting at this point in time may not be the final budget that's being presented at the financial town meeting. So it's up to the budget committee at that point in time to their recommendations to the for the financial town meeting.
Thank you. Carol?
We have to make a correction. The budget that you're presenting, a full face, is indeed something that will be considered by the budget committee, but not until after everything that's under this jurisdiction of the town council is voted to be submitted for inclusion on the warrant. And then all of those outside of the budget, articles, departments, whatever you want to call them, are also bound to be submitted before the March 1st deadline. The budget committee only gets to make a recommendation based on what has been submitted for the warrant. Those are normally the numbers that are already submitted by the March 1st deadline. Although I have to say there've been some years that they've negotiated things and they've changed before they've gotten to town meeting. But in general, what you're proposing, especially the town council jurisdiction, is what they need to vote on now. The budget committee doesn't get a first bite. Their part in this is to review the full picture and make a recommendation.
But that's a public process,
It is, but that,
public meeting,
but is that?
discuss the budget.
For this part. There is a public process now of what the town council is going to be considering for their articles and departments that they have jurisdiction over. The ultimate decision is at financial town meeting, and there is a public process through getting from March 1st to, did we vote on what date in May it is?
May 19th.
19.
So that will have a series of public hearings, but this is the first bite of the one for the town council jurisdictions.
All right, so can we start our bite?
What's that?
Are we ready?
Yeah. Let me just go through, for example, I wanted to talk a little bit about the revenue and how that's being computed, because in the past, I think we've kind of focused a lot on the expenditures, but one of the first steps we did was to take and say, how much money do we have to fund the budget for the current year? So if you look at, for example, property taxes, the assumption in the budget is that, again, would be a 4% increase in taxes. There's a collection rate based on the FY24 tax collectors report, which is saying that we collect 98.2% of that. So that number is shown in the property taxes along with the collection of taxes from prior years, which is estimated to be around 375,000. And on an annual basis, we're normally collecting a little over $100,000 a year in interest. So that number, which is the bulk of our revenue number, is computed based on that formula. The next fairly sizable number is the amount of money that we get from the state or the state resources. So included in that number is a housing aid, which is the money that we get to offset the school bond interest. That's estimated to be a little over $320,000 out of that $990,000 number. And then we'll get monies for motor vehicle rebate. So when they eliminated the motor vehicles, the tax, the state was reimbursing us for that. There's a tangible property reimbursement, there's meals, the meals tax, and then the hotel tax. It also includes vacation rentals and whatnot. We also have the library reimbursement in that number as well, too. So that number from a budgetary standpoint is based on the governor's proposed budget. We're not anticipating any changes, but obviously until the budget passed, we're not going to know for sure. But those numbers have been provided to us by the Department of Revenue for on the municipal side. So those are pretty solid. The town administration fees, Heather has provided the number in terms of the collections for tax stamps and other fees that they collect. And that's estimated to be roughly about $280,000. The building fees are estimated based on historical amounts. We now have, through OpenGov, we get a lot of our permitting done online. So I'm able to monitor that on a monthly basis. And again, that number is going to be reflected net of the monies that the Housing Trust gets. So the Housing Trust will get 40% of building permits for projects over $10,000 per the town council ordinance. So that number of 235 is net, is net of the Housing Trust. And again, they also show monies that we bring over from the cell tower, which is roughly about $49,000 in terms of the budget. One of the other items we show in revenue is the ambulance reimbursement. So in that particular fund, there's a lot of so for the fire vehicles are being leased through that. This money has to be committed for fire safety. So a lot of the vehicles are being leased through there, including the boat that we have. So that 190 represents the annual lease payments that we're making, which are in a separate fund and not in the general fund. So for budgetary purposes, we show the 190 in revenue, but we also show an expense that's offsetting that 190. So that brings that really comes up with our total revenue number, which was the 18,756,755.6. Obviously what we did was we obviously wanted to match that in expenditures, so we have a balanced budget. If you look at the largest expenditure, which is the school budget is increasing by 3%. That budget was presented last week to the school committee. I have another meeting next Wednesday for the school committee. It'll be a budget workshop, and then they'll vote to submit that budget to the town. That budget is $8,508,972, which is only the town appropriation. So we have other revenues that come in there to fund some of the others. And as you know, under state law, that number can't increase by more than 4% over the prior year based on maintenance effort calculations. One of the items that came up in years past, and I looked at this year as well, was that historically, the town has funded the town pension portion of the pension expense that's applicable to the schools. So our teacher assistants, our custodians are in the town pension plan. So what I've done this year is I pulled that expense out so that we're not showing the full pension expense on the town's books. It's only going to be for police, fire, and the town employees. And any expense that's applicable to the school employees will be put on the school's budget. So that pulled out some expenditures onto the school side. Just staying with the pension expense, I know that prior to the actuary's report coming out, I think the pension committee met and they were looking to try to fund 575,000, which would be accelerating the amortization rather than using 30 years, using something a little bit less. In talking to Mr. Mushin, I think in the past, when things have been good, they try to fund that a little bit better than they in 1 year than in others. The actual expense for the actuary's report was about 337,000, of which 65,000 of that was going to be funded by the school. So if we were to fund the actuary's calculation of the pension expense minus the school pension, which will be going over onto the school side, it's roughly a little over $200,000 of savings from the prior year on the pension expense. So that's something that we've recommended in our budget at this point in time. Some of the other areas specifically of concern, we talked about some of the other cuts, but in order to balance the budget, in last year, we didn't have anything in for capital. So when we came to a point where we needed to kind of cut the budget last year, even though I wasn't involved, but there was 250,000 that the town would normally put into a capital line item. And what happens on that capital line item is it gets charged to the general fund, then it gets moved over to a separate capital fund. So once it's in there, decisions are made to spend that money in accordance with approval by the town council for specific capital improvements. In some cases, for example, what we have in that fund right now is a little over $680,000. 425,000 represents monies that were voted on at the financial town meeting specifically for pickleball. So of that 683, 425 is sitting in that fund available for pickleball. The remaining balance of a little over 200 and some odd $1,000 is available for capital. At this point in time, we know that we may have some fire code improvements, and I believe the council has voted on funding those for the property next door. So those expenditures would be taken out of that capital fund in order to meet those fire code improvements next door. So basically, we would not have anything in the budget for capital unless we put some monies in. So basically, when we went through the capital, we had a number of different items for lease expense for certain vehicles, a new truck for DPW with the plow. We had police and fire radios that needed to be purchased, which if we didn't do that within the next year, their radios would become obsolete, so we needed to do that. What we've done is we've structured a lease so that it's a 3-year lease with payment in arrears, so that when we put assuming it's approved by the financial town meeting, that lease would go into effect in 27, in the summer of 27, but a payment doesn't have to be made until 28. So we're able to kind of push that into the next year, but still get the capital that we need for the police radio, so. The other big item in that would be the roadworks paving. And Anya has been involved with that, so there have been approvals to do some additional road work in town. The state's going to be reimbursing us roughly about a third of our expenditures. So we have approved, which goes back to its FY25 approval of a little over $400,000, of which we're going to need about 275 out of the budget in order to do that work. And so that's included in the capital improvements on this. So that makes up the bulk of the 425,000 of expenditures that we need. 450, I believe, is the total. So we can only do 300 in order to keep budget balance. So we are looking at potentially looking to free up some of the previously committed pickleball money to use at least to get some of the road work done. And then at some future years, we can obviously replace that when we're in a position that we can support that expenditure for pickleball. When you look at it now, it's also a concern I have from a cash flow standpoint. In the past, we've taken, we've talked about this in the past, a few $1 million out of our operating cash flow with losses that we've incurred in 24 and losses that we'll have in 25. We are looking at least a balanced budget for 26. We may do a little bit better than that, but it's a little early to project that at this point, but I'll have some better numbers over the next few months on that end. So that decision has to be made.
On the pickleball, we should clarify that that's not the donated funds.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Thank you.
that's not the total. Those are in a separate cash account over at Bay Coast and separately invested. So these are just the funds that were committed by the town at the financial town meeting, not the donated funds. Those are in another separate fund. So that's a decision that has to be made as to what we do. But in the budget that we're presenting to the town, we've got the 300,000 in there, which allows us to keep the budget balanced. We also had an increase in our debt service. We did refinance the school bonds and we got a little bit of a savings on that. I think it was a little over $200,000. They were able to use that to reduce the debt service in FY26. So when we put the budget in last year, it was at a lower number than we were at in prior years. So in 27, that debt service is jumping up a little bit. So it's increasing by about 193,000. There's not much we can do about that at this point. So that's why you can see a little bit of an increase in the debt service line item as well. One of the items we did talk about was salaries, and I did go through and kind of summarize the salaries in all the departments. And right now, with the salary reductions that are included in the budget, we'd be, without fringes, we'd be at $4.3 million in the 27 budget versus $4,089,000 in the 26 budget. That's an increase of $211,000, again, without benefits. That's a 5.16% increase. So when you're looking at the larger number, especially when you're looking at any budget, salaries certainly are a big driver for any budget. And of course, with that, you'll have increases in payroll taxes and we also, as I had mentioned, we're looking at a 10% projected increase in our healthcare costs. That's on top of a 12% increase that we had last year. So 22% in 2 years. And we're in with the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust. which is kind of a hybrid self-insured model. So, we think we do have, I think, a good plan. It's just the cost of healthcare, is just skyrocketing at this point in time. That's the, overview I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from the council?
John, I got one question on info technology. What's the other ones that I'm looking at go up a certain percentage and they're all pretty equal? But if I'm reading it correctly, last year's budget was 169 and now it's 406,000. And I know we hired a tech person, but tell me why that.
So that adjusted budget last year was probably closer to 280.
Okay,
Because when we did hire in-house, we did allocate some of the budget from police. They were able to fund that. We did some of it from finance because was able to absorb some of that. So we allocated that over to technology. But clearly the investment in technology hasn't been kept up. And some of what we did with technology is rather than dispersing it, unless it was specific for a particular department, for example, like public safety, if it was a program that was specific to that, we would put it in public safety. But it was something that was more generic for the town as a whole. We left it in John Gabriel's budget so that we can kind of track the expenditures in there.
okay.
And I think cybersecurity, which is on everybody's mind right now, has also had us increase that budget a little bit. So kind of protect the resources that we do have.
Okay, thank you, John. It just kind of jumped out at me, that big,
Yeah.
from 169 to 406. Thank you.
Anyone else on the council? Not seeing any? Larry Anderson, you're closer to the microphone. Go ahead. You're up.
Look to the council.
Looks like they're okay for the second. You're up.
Larry Anderson, I am going to speak in my capacity as town moderator of the process. I'm not going to comment on the nonsense that they proposed. But I think the issue that Carol's raised about process, it's we're in a situation, and I've been on the budget committee, I've been on the town council, I've been moderator before, so I've come at this from different perspectives. My observation is that for the last 20 years, basically, and that includes all the time that either I or Scott Harrison had presided over the financial town meeting. That period from around the early round two, and Councilor may be able to remind me, around 2005, 2006 was when the 4% tax levy limit and the state requirements for dealing with that really took hold with teeth. And as a result of that, I think some of the situation was partly because some of our procedural muscles have had to be which to say that for all of that time, 20 years, hoping with my experience, especially as town moderator in Scots, was that the town boards, the council, the school committee, and others, have come in with the exception, say, of the year we had to exceed the cap to refinance the school, to finance the school renovation, and we went through the procedure with the state to get prior approval to exceed the cap. We did that for a year, but The result is that the town officials have come in with the budgets that stay within the 4% tax levy, which is attractive to voters at town meeting generally. So we just slammed through the town meeting in 25 or 40 minutes. That's what's presented. But in recent years, one of the ways we've met that 4% is by this sort of backdoor way of using the general fund to make up to get there, to get to the 4%. And a flaw in our system, as far as I'm concerned, which is one of these habits we've gotten into in terms of the format, is we put something that's not a warrant article, but something in our, we've called this page different things, in the warrant, in the budget committee report, something called the general fund appropriation. That we had enough in the general fund. The voters never vote on that. It's called an appropriation. We don't vote on that number. It's just put over on the slide. It's the default. It's the default amount we make to get to 4%. So that's an issue that I think has to be addressed in different ways, both in the budget committee, perhaps at town meeting, by having, if we're ever going to do that. And as I understand it, you're proposing not to lose anything from the general fund.
Oh, correct.
Make this budget balance. So it's not an issue that would come up necessarily to take a vote for the amount that we might use from the general fund. That's what we should have been doing all along. We should have been voting on that. Which frankly, all other towns who do this, certainly in other states who have town meetings, they vote on that. Generally. But so the challenge we face with regard to the recommendations, these preliminary recommendations that are made tonight, which the council will decide whether they're going to actually recommend, and the school committee's budget, which hasn't been voted on yet.
Correct.
These things have to be done by March 1st. I hope the council will have a meeting where the public has some input. But let's go to the budget committee, which by charter is that the budget committee shall have primary responsibility for the evaluation of all requests for appropriations on the town meeting and for presenting a proposed budget to the annual financial town meeting. So the budget that gets presented is the budget committee's proposal. Is the requests and the presented budget is going to be the budget committee. Now, I'm going to assume that whatever they propose, whether it's what your recommendations are or not, is going to come in at that 4%. Let's assume that they're going to come in with a budget that may differ from yours, but we're still, the revenue is going to be, the property tax levy is still going to be at 4%. So what I'm saying is, there's a period until town meeting when the voters get to decide finally on all these recommendations, which would be recommendations that the voters have a chance, both with the budget committee and some left in the school committee, excuse me, with the town council, but certainly with the budget committee to weigh in, not just at hearing, but every meeting of the budget committee, for example, about the pros and cons of the recommendations. But finally, and this is a challenge that I think that the town moderators have not had to face, because it's not a thing that existed for that long. Historically, is the voters at town meeting don't have to take the recommendations, but the legal challenge we're going to have if there are proposals that are different from what is proposed, is that we have to get out of it still legally with a 4% tax levy proposal at the end of the town meeting. That's my working assumption. So voters have to do some work and be prepared at town meeting. If they want to change the recommendations, you want to raise something, but you're going to have to propose something else to cut. Because my goal is town meeting is the voters have a lot of ability to do that, but we can't get out of there and exceed that 4%. So I'm just sort of urging the voters themselves to be thinking about that, and I hope between now and then, because the moderators don't really have to deal with this issue received from the town meeting very much since the tax levy cap has been in effect. So it presents a challenge at town meeting how to get there if voters want to have different priorities in the budget. So anyway, part of the responsibility falls on the voters who have the last say on this at town meeting.
Thank you for hammering that point home. Sal,
On your one.
Anya?
Just wanted to thank Larry for that point, because I don't want to represent that what John and I have presented to you as a draft recommendation is magical or 100% right. But I would hope that whether it's at this stage or at the budget committee stage or at the financial town meeting stage, people understand the need to balance. So if you're going to add something back, you got to take something away. There's not a lot of discretionary room in this budget, unfortunately, not a lot of room to move. And so I appreciate that concept.
Thank
I
you.
would only add that the comments that the moderator has made are applicable regardless of whether or not we were in a tight situation. In other words, every time something is proposed to be added, which is a very recent proclivity of the public, and that's certainly their right, but it is not typically accompanied by, and to pay for that, I propose that we do this. That's the key. So we will need to be insistent on that. And it sounds like the moderator is gearing up for that as well. So I think that's.
Thank you for that, young man. Use your microphone next time.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Sal, for your 3 minutes.
And just, when you were going over the numbers in the budget and the proposals in the clerk's office, fire department, police department, I would suggest, and everybody knows I'm around the town constantly. I mean, I go everywhere in the town, and we have a busy little town. Fire department is busy, police department is busy, Heather's office is busy. I would propose that we really look at raising our fees immediately for the dump stickers, the building permits. I suggest we do that as quick as possible so that we don't have to take that direction with those departments. Because, I mean, I know that our dump fees are ridiculous. I mean, for what we charge. I mean, I also know our building fees are low. So I think we should take a good, strong look at that immediately, adjust them so we can make that adjustment in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sal. Anyone else from the audience?
Yeah, Patrick, I'm not sure who this should be addressed to, Anya or John, but on page 18 on the planning board department expense, I just need an explanation, that's all. 2026 was 18,500, now it's jumped up to 50,000.
Bet you Victoria Talbot could do this one.
Okay,
I don't know that I can, actually.
I've heard you do it before.
Thank you for your confidence, but I don't actually know that I can
All right,
for the planning board on that.
I just got this
I
tonight.
mean, I am aware that we're up for a comprehensive plan review process, and I'm assuming this is hiring a planner to help with that, but
That's the major input for that increase.
And then on page 29, service contracts for $40,000, which we haven't had service contracts before.
So what that is plenty of that is for the payroll clerk in town. So the HR director for the school currently does the school payroll.
Okay.
We're going to be taking that over to free her up so she does HR work. So that's basically going to be the payroll clerk doing both the town and the school.
Okay. And then on page 32, salary for the Director of Social and Senior Services. I know we just hired her. for part-time for 31,200. Now her salary is 54,600. Anybody can comment on that for me?
Yeah, I can comment on that. We had two appointments, we had two jobs.
Yeah,
And so one job is 30 hours a week and one job is 10 hours a week. So we combined the $60,000 salary and broke it up appropriately.
okay, so I thought the salary for senior activity coordinator, that's not part of that 13,900, so we have two senior directors now? Is that what you're saying?
Martha, would you like to speak on this?
I think John probably speak to.
Or John?
It's better.
Sure, go ahead, John.
So they do have a senior activity coordinator,
Yes,
and then the salary director, which is combining both social and senior services into one account.
Right.
Now, I believe that number might have been 16,000 for the social services or senior services. I forget which one was at 16, but so they combined that. I do have to, and Martha brought this up to me, that I missed under the senior services, under that line item, which was 16,000 a year before, or expenses for the senior, for various expenses. And we also get a $9,500 grant. So instead of 16, we're going to add 6,500, which would be expenditures for the senior center on that particular line item.
so the senior citizen services of 16,000 from last year goes into that 54,600 this year?
Yeah, that's already baked into that 54,600. Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I just got this tonight, so I'm just looking at numbers that are jumping out to me.
No problem. Anyone else? We're gonna go to the calendar now. Got it up on my phone. I'd like to take your phones out, counselors, and look at your calendar. I'm proposing the 24th. And I'm happy to do another meeting on the 26th or the 27th for the public to talk about this budget, for us to take all the time we need to be immersed in it and then vote on it before March 1st. Do I have a taker for the 24th,
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday, the 24th?
I think to be appropriate for the general public, it'd be good to have it a little bit later in the day, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and more like a normal meeting.
Budget committee meeting on Tuesday.
There's other things going on in town.
Is there anything on the calendar?
Do we have the calendar here?
Yeah, Heather does.
Thanks, Heather. What's going on the 24th?
Budget committee at 7 o'clock.
Budget committee at 7.
We do.
Andy did say, he communicated with me today that they could bump that later if you were going to have a special meeting.
Do we want to do 6?
6 is fine.
The 24th at 6? Andrew, are you free? Sure. Victoria?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Would we like to add another day? The 28th is a Thursday. Happy to do it. I'm free.
26,
26.
Thursday.
Is a Thursday, that's right.
You said 28
I don't think so.
live.
He filmed it.
Someone said I'm on the same. What's going on the 28th, Heather?
26.
Saturday, so it's
That was on purpose.
26, there's nothing.
Nothing. I'm free for another 6 o'clock meeting on the budget or anyone who wants to come. Any other takers here?
Yeah.
I got a taker here. I got 2.
Yeah,
I got to throw
Sure.
5
So
o'clock.
24 and 26.
24 and 26 at 6 here. Right, thank you for that.
Can I have a question? Thank you. Will this budget, this proposed budget, I understand it's not real, be available online where we can see it, where people can go to the first page and it'll bite them in the ass. So to speak. So to speak. I mean, one of the problems that I have and others that I've spoken with is we get all this great information, but it's a pain in the tail to find it.
Mhm.
And it's a challenge. And I think that it would behoove us to not just have it under news, like something flashing. So that people understand what's happening.
We do have the listserv that's been more. That's been solved.
Yeah. It's not next week.
Not soon enough.
Not soon enough.
There you go.
Heather, go ahead.
I'm wrong,
Thank
but
you.
we do have limitations on our website, so when you say flashing, I don't know if it's flashing, but.
We can certainly make it very
Yeah,
common.
yeah,
Thank you.
All right.
I'd appreciate that.
that's why it filters into the news, that's just.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll get back to our agenda. Full business two. Letter from town clerk requesting the council approve her decision for home rule charter section 602 to hire Abigail M. Wilkie as deputy town clerk effective February 23rd, 2026. I'm excited to make this motion. Working with Abby, I think she's outstanding.
Second,
I haven't made the motion yet. Motion to approve the appointment of Abigail Wilkie as deputy town clerk.
second,
With the offer that she applied for the CMC Certified Municipal Clerk designation with the courses to be paid for by the town when she's ready. Do I have a second? You have a second. Okay. Do we need to discuss?
And you're ready, go ahead.
We're in discussion. All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? None.
I would just like to say that I am very pleased. I have a lot to say tonight. Congratulations to Abby on her achievements as a very quick learner and continues to learn as we all do in the town clerk's office with the ever-changing laws and processes to complete the voluminous tasks every day throughout the year in the clerk's office. Abigail has shown very quickly her deep dedication to the responsibilities of the town clerk's office and specifically the town. I am very pleased to have Abigail as my deputy town clerk and look forward and proud to serve with her by my side.
Outstanding. She's really,
She's awesome.
thank you.
Congrats to Abby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Further requesting permission to seek application to fill the office clerk vacancy newly created by Mr. Wilkins' promotion. I would make a motion to table this for the budget discussion that's going to come. A second for that.
Second.
Any other further discussion?
I mean, I don't think it's fair to tell somebody they may be hired if we're not gonna have the money to do it. I think the clerk's office does need 3 people in there. That's why we put a third person in there. How long ago? 15 years, 10 years? The lady in the back of the room could tell me how long it's been.
25.
Okay, so 25 years ago, we decided we needed a third person. So I think it's behooves the council to try to get that person in there to better serve the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I have a motion to table dependent on budget discussion for FY 27. I have a second. I think I have a second.
Yeah, I second it.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unopposed. Old business 3, town administrator's update on the community van, town administrator.
Thank you. I wish I had more to tell you on this, but my bad, I haven't made a whole lot of progress. I have talked with Mike Rocha about meeting to discuss how we implement the policy that was developed and agreed upon by the committee and then adopted by the council and then sent to me for implementation. We talked before the holidays and he was very busy. We agreed that we would meet after the holidays and haven't been able to schedule that until this week. We scheduled it for next Thursday, so now it's probably going to be bumped because of your special meeting, but we will get it done soon. And in that meeting, we will address such things as how we're letting the townspeople know about the availability of the vans, in particular, making sure that for the van that has been given to us by RIPTA, that that's available not just to seniors, but to all citizens. That we have appropriate, MOUs in place with anybody who's using the vans other than the volunteers who now, staff and drive the vans, improving the way that, again, one of Jonathan's minor tasks, improving the way that people can sign up for service, and making sure that we're advertising appropriately, among other things. So
Thank you.
on it, we'll do.
Can you add me to that meeting when you have it?
Absolutely.
And it's my understanding there was a advertisement in the paper that said senior van. Is that correct?
Yeah, in the section of the Secana Times that lists senior services, we have an ad for senior transportation. And we probably should make sure that at least we put that somewhere else in addition to.
Right, so it can rectify that. Thank you. Okay, new business 1. Request from Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, Mass Red Island Chapter to conduct a bicycle ride for 2026 on Saturday, September 19th, 2026, with rain date on Sunday, September 20th. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve. Laws is approved by both the police chiefs and all local and state laws are adhered to. I know that on the back page, it said something about Westport Police, Tiverton Police, and Little Compton Police. So they might have been notified, but I'd like to have it on record that we asked it to be,
The chiefs are away.
right. I just wanted on record that, we said we wanted them to notify them.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. 2, contract with Jensen Hughes regarding fire suppression system for 32 and 34. I'm gonna make a motion to table this. We're not ready for this discussion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you. 3, receive FY25 pension actuarial report and the pension committee's FY27 budget request. Bob, would you like to discuss that?
In your packet, you have new business 3, a unanimous vote of the committee. They did not have in front of them the actuarial report, which I have given you and have given them since then, which we received. So the request that was made for a total contribution of $575,000. As you are aware from the budget from the finance director's report on the budget, this number has now been distributed across all of the departments of the town in which there are pension eligible persons. And so it is a divided number rather than a single number. It also is nowhere near 575,000, even including the distribution between the school and the town being separately funded. That said, this constitutes a requirement, as we were reminded earlier in the meeting, that the pension committee is obligated to make such a recommendation, which it did in a timely fashion. And that number then will be debated as part of the process of developing the budget. I would only point out to you on page 14, and I'm sorry that everyone in the audience doesn't have this to look at, but page 14 is the development of our alternative pension costs. Our pension in Little Compton as a locally administered pension plan is highly regarded in the evaluations that are made every year by the treasurer. He receives from each city and town their information and then develops a report that is basically a scorecard. We are seen as a very well-funded, capable pension plan. We're also very tiny compared to most everyone else. So our process has been to be careful to ask the town to fund a 30-year amortization figure. We, on the pension committee, are interested in making that smaller, as the finance director also pointed out. But of course, that figure then only increases what is due. So this is another of those items that is a budget item that comes up every year. It's commonly funded at the right level. We are suggesting that we ought to be more ambitious in order to save our pension plan from the scrutiny that results that some towns had, which then takes away the pension plan, moves it to the state, and then all we have are pensioners, and there are no longer any active employees supporting that pension. So we believe it's worthy of our, as a town, care. And we'll make that point in the deliberations with the budget committee. Thank you.
Thank you. You need a motion for that?
I don't need a motion.
Again. New business 4. Request from the finance director for town council approval to designate Anita Kudo as the interim deputy tax collector in accordance with RGL 44-7-2 and 44-7-6. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second your motion. Any discussion? Not seeing any, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. 5, receive and consider the following request for budget funding in FY 27.
Might I suggest that this be moved forward to one of our future meetings, because these constitute things that are, I'll call it, optional, in the sense that we may find that we need to change that.
I concur with Bob. This is what we generally do on budget committee, all these, Little Compton Celebrates America Wellness Center, Village Improvement Society, Rhode Island Conservation District, East Bay Community Action Program, Little Compton Prevention Coalition, Little Compton Community Center, Food Bank, and Stay at Home. This is our purview to put in the numbers we think are appropriate and then get it to the budget committee. And this is why we have to have these meetings, so that we can do this by put it in by month.
Would you like to continue this to our next meeting? On the
I would, so I would suggest that we take these up at the February 24th special town council meeting.
And the 26th if needed.
And the 26th if needed.
Okay, is that a motion? I'll second it. Any further discussion?
I have a quick question for
You do.
Heather.
There
Yeah.
it is. All right.
Heather, would it be possible, and I'll apologize if you've already shared these and I would maybe just have to go back to older packets, but to get whatever documentation you have for these requests, and I guess I'd follow that up by saying, were many of these, did they have substantial documentation, or was it typically just a line item, we would like $20,000?
These were included in previous packets, not all at the same time, but sporadically, and based on the additional requests from the budget committee for their template documentation, some instead of just a cover letter, we got thick like this. Others, we might have just still got a cover letter or 2 sheets, so they vary.
I'm just thinking it might be helpful if we're moving these specifically to that meeting to have some info to go along with it, please.
They'll all be copied.
Thank you very much.
Then you're gonna give those to all council. I know we didn't receive them in the past, but,
No, I'll do them all
Okay.
as one thing.
okay, thank you.
And I believe the budget binder will show the last
Yeah,
4 years or
Hmm.
some number of years looking back, that now a new applicant wouldn't have that history.
Sure.
I think I have a motion in a second.
you seconded it.
You did a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Town council sitting as a board of license commissioners. 1, request from Little Compton Game Club. 5, class F1 one-day beverage license at the John Dyer Road facility. March 14th, April 15th, April 25th, June 7th, September 20, and November 14th.
Motion to approve with all state and local ordinance adhered to.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm seeing any. 2, request from the world's shortest St. Patty's Day Parade for class F one-day beverage license located at 26 Main Street on Sunday, March 15th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve with all state and local ordinance adhered to and notification to both the chiefs.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Communications, Hazard Mitigation and Flood Management Plan Advisory Committee Annual Review. Reporting period, August 7th, 2024, plan approved through January 21, 2026. Would we make a motion to put this on file?
Is there, there's no action in it.
No action, thank you. Communications, request from Charles Canane to temporarily close a 200-foot section in front of 26 Main Street on Sunday, March 15, 2026, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. for the world's shortest St. Patty's Day Parade, and formally invite the town council to join and march in the parade.
Same motion, I'll approve with, all state laws adhered to.
Second.
They've already said they would coordinate with both the chiefs, so that doesn't have to be part of the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You can put it.
My comment on the previous one was a question as to whether that is a,
We can go back to it.
we have to approve something?
What do you got, Heather, on communications?
Minigray, you should accept it and place it on file.
I will place communications on file. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, Bob. 3, requests from the Little Compton Community Center for a 2026 Easter spree at Veterans Field area on April 4th, 2026, from 8:30 to 10:30.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Electronic doc.
Request from Sal Mardosi for discussion on 30 Commons Old Fire Station. Old Fire Station building.
Which is now the maintenance building.
From the.
About 4 years ago, I took it upon myself to do a drawing of the old fire station building and present the drawing as something of a community center meeting place called Common Center, and to be used by the seniors. And it was a simple drawing with a patio in the front, an open area inside the building that was quite large, a place for a kitchen, an easy kitchen, not a kitchen where you would do heavy cooking where a wood was required, etc. A place where you would have bathroom facilities that would be handicap accessible, etc. And also a place to have a grill out in front with some picnic tables and umbrellas. And everybody loved the drawing, everybody loved the idea, but we ran into a problem when we didn't have a place to take the DPW operation out of that building. And through the problems we've had with budget, etc., in the last couple of years, it was looked upon as this is never going to happen. So I took it upon myself. I went to a couple of council members, Gary and Bob, who I see often, and I didn't know Patrick as well, and Victoria or Mr. Moore as well as I do now in the beginning. And I just took it upon myself to contact the state and ask them if I would take their building. First, everybody laughed at me and said, that's never going to happen. So when somebody says that to me, I forget. I contacted Peter Alvidi and numerous discussions with him. And he finally said to me, listen, Sal, if I can make that happen, I will. I said, well, thank you. I further contacted our Senator, Luther Palmer, and he said, Sal, I'll help you. I had 2 breakfasts with him, in fact, the breakfasts at all. And we sat down and put together a plan of where he could help me and we would keep in contact and he would put some pressure from his side. I got a call from Peter Alvidi and he said, we're going to have a Zoom call for you. And we had a Zoom call where 3 of us were involved, Mr. Mataronis, Bob Munchin, and myself. And we explained what the operation would be and how we would be using the building, how long we would like to have it and how much of it we would like to have. At first, there was a little hustle about how much they would give us. They wanted to give us half. We ended up with 3, we think. And, actually it was the office and 2 garages, but I made a pitch for the 3rd garage today and it looks like we've got it. Well, anyways, we had 2 Zoom meetings with them, went back and forth. We met them on site and, they sent us a proposal. The proposal states that we're gonna pay $2,000 a year with electric and gas included. And we're gonna take over portions of a great deal of the building. And we're gonna use the site to put our DPW work there. And we're gonna do some work on the building. It's work we're gonna outline this coming Monday. We're gonna have a meeting with EOP and they're gonna help us understand. I'm gonna put together a CPM schedule for the slight bit of renovation we have to do there. And we're gonna move our operation over to there if the council votes on it. And I sat down with Harry Mataronis and Bob today. And then I went over and I talked to Patrick and Victoria. And they seem to like the idea. It has merit. And I think we got ourselves a building. So I just like to announce we're gonna have a DPW building. I won't go that. Thank you.
So. Sal's absolutely right. He grew up in Providence. He has a lot of connections up there. He's the one that initiated this after he spoke with Bob and I. We've met with the DPW director over there. He seems to think it's a good idea because he's too cramped over there with these 3 bays. Hopefully, all the equipment can go inside. So my hope is, as everybody knows, I've been pushing for a senior gathering center for a long time. And the sketch that Sal made out a few years ago kind of led into that. So I'm hoping the bottom floor of the maintenance department, the front of it can be used for a senior gathering spot, and the back of it can be used for municipal offices, because we need something for the social service director and the coordinator down there that'll be with the seniors. I mean, it's good to have her at a joint area where the people are gonna be at. So that's really my hope, and I hope the council will see it my way, hopefully.
The other big areas that we talked about today, I think what we could do is we put together a coalition of town contractors and try to get not only good numbers, but volunteer service from them. This would be a good way to get the town together and put together a coalition of contractors that do the things they do all day and possibly buy into a project for the seniors of the town. So let's hope. Thank
So
you.
if there's any local contractors out there that'd like to help support their town, we're gonna need some of your services, please.
Thank you, Gavin.
So I look forward to seeing how this progresses.
Okay, so
Anything I do to help.
after the last Zoom meeting 2 weeks ago, I was sent the MOU to send it to the solicitor. So he says the MOU is good, so we have to meet with them Monday, and then we got another Zoom meeting next Thursday. And hopefully we're gonna be able to bring the MOU to the council to sign. But it's a win-win. It's $2,000 a year for that building that's just sitting over there.
Okay, I'll move an MOU. The state, Sal came to us anecdotally today, so there's no quorum issue here.
Yeah.
Just to make that clear. I didn't know anything about this. Victoria, I don't think you did.
No.
Until Sal skipped on over for us today and anecdotally told us about it. So I don't know about any MOU or anything that was going on.
It might
Just to
be
be clear.
helpful that I provide some perspective on this. years ago, we approached DOT about the facility and were given a sense of, no, you're not, we don't want to enter into any kind of relationship, but if you'd like to buy it, we'd like to sell it to you. And then when we talked to DEM, we were reminded of the fact that the adjacent property is condemned. And so we tempered that discussion because that was the only thing offered. So I will say on behalf of the group, which consisted of the two of us and the two counselors and the energy man that brought it forward. We did not come up with this idea and attempt to figure out how to do this and spring it on you, but I know it must seem like that. This is a windfall that I think
Spring's coming.
has some real good opportunity.
In fact, Patrick, I think you remember, we had a meeting at the site when you came by. And,
I drove by and seen people there.
yeah, and you asked me about it and I said, I'm talking to them about the building.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, oh, okay.
Some good things come to that.
Have recollection. Thank you. Sounds exciting.
Thank you.
Consent agenda.
Motion to place consent calendar on file unless anybody wants to pull anything for discussion.
All in favor? Aye. Payment of bills?
Motion to pay the bills as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Yeah.